a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
Hey YouTubers, if you like what you see, make sure you click subscribe below. Today we're going to talk Camp Convos, and we're going to be in Minnesota and Detroit. So crack a cold one and enjoy.
Jeremy.
He's like, hold on.
When you feel it, he's going to go for it.
In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
Brian's wife, yes, we are brothers. His wife just asked, are we brothers?
No. Yes.
I'm off Julio.
10.9, then he had 23. Was that not double digit?
Okay,
What do you consider double digit? I'm sorry. You know what, viewers? I apologize. What do you guys out there consider double digits?
Nicaragua.
Hey, Nicaragua. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's been a while since we've all been here together. I'm
Yeah.
Travis Sutton. I'm here with the brothers, Jay Up and James Up.
What's up, guys?
Whoa, whoa.
Welcome back together, boys.
Yeah, it feels good, actually. I feel like I've been off for like a month, even though I just missed last week.
I was here, but the week that I did miss it did feel like it was a long time coming.
I felt the same way when I missed a week.
What's the deal? What's our deals?
I don't know.
It's vacation time.
We need to figure that Google Hangouts thing.
Yeah, man, we got to get to that.
I'm all for it.
So we're going to do some camp conversations today. We're going to have more of just kind of a conversate about kind of what's going on, what we've been hearing out of some camps, Minnesota and Detroit on this episode. And we'll just kind of keep it free flowing. We're not going to hit you with a whole lot of like stats and hard data, that kind of stuff, but just how we kind of feel. Some news coming out, maybe some of the BS that's coming out.
Coach speak.
Yeah, coach speak, videos. The Twitter's alive and thriving right now with all the best things happening out of camp. Just like kind of last year, Galladay, a lot of stuff coming out with him. Last year, everybody jumped on that train. Probably a little early.
Amir Abdullah before that.
Yes, so Dula the year before that.
For show. I
You
sound
know-
very echoey, no?
Yeah, it does sound very echoey, yes.
Just me?
No, all of us.
Okay.
Hello.
I don't think Travis does, but I definitely do. But okay. Go ahead.
Funny speaking about Amir Abdullah, because I've actually seen some more hype on him, but from the players.
I think that's because they're trying to trade him, no?
The players?
Well, the players are the ones talking the hype. It wasn't
But
so much the
Detroit-
coaches.
Detroit
it was,
themselves, I'm
I
saying.
think it was Theo Riddick, if I'm not mistaken, was saying how good Amir Abdullah looks, and that they'd be better off keeping him also. I don't know if they're going to carry 4 running backs, though. And then I saw something come up, and it wasn't from a beat writer from Detroit, but it was one of the fantasy guys that we kind of follow, saying that he heard rumblings that they could cut LeGarrette Blount
What?
because Kerryon Johnson has looked so good in camp.
And that's fine, but I still like having that option to have another guy as my goal line and my short yardage guy. I mean, it's carrying 4 running backs, is it that outrageous?
I don't.
You know what I mean? It's not like they're carrying 7 and it's like
No.
one of these guys has to go. Like,
Well, one of them's a fullback.
Right.
They're going to carry that guy.
right?
The thing with me, though, is that the guy made a good point, and he basically said that when Amir Abdullah's in the game, you're not 100% sure if he's going to run or go as a receiving guy. With Kerryon Johnson, kind of the same thing. Theo Riddick, kind of the same thing, even though he's more of a receiving back than he is a running back. He will go through the tackles every once in a while. When LeGarrette Blount comes in the game, it's a run.
The problem is, though, that I see is that LeGarrette Blount came from New England, which is where Patricia came from as well.
Right.
And he specifically said, I know that LeGarrette Blount's got multiple years left on these legs. I work with him all the time, and I've worked with him the last couple of seasons. So the issue is the head coach wants him there. The chance of him getting cut is going to be kind of slim. It's his first year as head coach. You kind of gotta give him a little bit of a leash to pick a player that he believes in.
Which is why I kind of feel like they won't cut him.
Right.
But it was just interesting, and it made sense.
He might be the odd man out,
Right. It just made sense to me.
and it not be Abdullah.
Yeah, it might not. At the beginning of camp, like before camp even started in the off season, I thought that Abdullah was going to be the odd man out. He was probably going to get cut. Now I'm feeling more like my mind has changed. I think they might actually keep Abdullah. I think they might actually keep the 4 running backs and kind of let them battle it out. Like, what does their training camp depth chart say right now?
Right now, they have LeGarrette Blount listed as number 1. So it says LeGarrette Blount's 1, Theo Riddick is 2, Amir Abdullah's 3, Kerryon Johnson's 4. So, but again, it's those 4 guys. I think at this point, all 4 of them look like they're going to make the team. And they all have talent. They've all shown things that Theo Riddick's had, multiple 50 catch seasons. Amir Abdullah, you've seen flashes of him being great. Kerryon Johnson, what he's done in college and from what they're saying in training camp looks really good. You've seen LeGarrette Blount rush for, that one season he had like 17 touchdowns. So all these guys can do the job. It's just how they're going to use them.
Yeah, I agree. Well, with the guy converting over to fullback because the Bodden kid got hurt, that's another running back as well. So where does that leave Dwayne Johnson?
The Rock.
The Rock.
Dwayne Washington and Zach Zenner.
Zach Zenner somehow still makes the team every year. I think I don't know.
But if you carry those other guys, he can't.
Correct.
You can't carry that many running backs, clearly.
Practice squad, I guess?
Practice squad, maybe.
Yeah, but you know what? Is it kind of like New England's situation where they keep signing Bolden because he's a quote-unquote special teams ace? Like, he's a running back.
I think Amir Abdullah could play special teams, though, too.
I think he could as well. And that's the thing, is that I think they will also put Kerryon Johnson a little bit at special teams, too, just to kind of get him into the flow. I don't know how they're going to use him. Word out of camp is that he's actually looked pretty good in pass protection. So that's a huge plus.
That's a plus.
Yeah, that's what you want to hear. That's definitely a good thing if you don't carry on Johnson.
Yeah, him and LeGarrette Blount are both huge. So it's for the fact that they're picking up their blocks. I mean, they should be doing that. But I know for a fact that Theo Riddick also blocks very well in passing downs as well, too. And he's not as big as these other two guys. So there's a spot for all four of these guys. I just don't know at this moment how they're going to be used. I can't wait to the preseason game to see who they even play. Like, do any four of these guys play? Or, because obviously we saw the Hall of Fame game, and the starters didn't play at all. And it was second, third, and fourth string guys playing. So I wonder how Detroit's going to attack the preseason game. The first time they play is on Thursday. Are they going to run just Amir Abdullah, Zach Zenner, Dwayne Washington, and Nick Ballore? And you don't even get to see, Kerryon Johnson the first game?
I don't think Blount even gets a carry.
That's what I'm saying. Blount and Riddick, I don't think even touch the ball. I think maybe you see Kerryon, maybe, but probably not. And it's going to be Abdullah, Washington, Zenner, and the rest of the guys.
I don't know. I know the Hall of Fame game's a little bit different than the rest of them because it's
an extra game.
It's like that exhibition for the weekend kind of thing for the Hall of Fame. So yeah, you definitely didn't see a lot of first, second stringers. You saw a couple guys that might make the second string, but you saw for Chicago, the guy running the ball when they started was the guy that's probably going to be the fullback.
Yeah.
So he was kind of getting a lot of the work, which is for me, I'd kind of rather see some of those guys to kind of get a look at some of those guys. We know we're going to get a look at some of the starters come third game.
Yeah.
And probably the second game. Like, not a lot of work necessarily. They'll get the most work probably in the third game. But I think you got to get your rookie in there. I feel like. I don't know why they wouldn't, even if it's just for a series or.
I think they have to also. I think they have to at least see what they got in game shape. You know what I mean? Like, you've seen what he's got in practice. He's obviously holding up pretty well with pass protection, so you want to get him in the game and see what he's got. It says Tim Twentyman, who was actually from the official website of the Detroit Lions, thinks that Dwayne Washington's on the roster bubble, and the only way they would keep him is just for special teams, obviously. He's nothing more than an early down backup, and then Amir Abdullah is trying to solidify his roster spot. But they only clear $1 million in cap space if they release him. It's not like they're going to save very much.
Yeah.
That's why I think
they keep him.
That's why I think that now they keep him as well.
Yeah, my mind's definitely changed. But that whole running back situation there is just, it's for me, it's still up in the air of how it's going to be shared. And so this is one of the backfields that I'm not anxious to own a part of, and in a redraft league especially, is because I just don't know, is LeGarrette Blount just going to be the goal line guy, and it's going to be that Jerome Bettis type that you have to hope that he gets a touchdown for him to do anything, and it's going to be mainly carry on, and the other guys are going to get the catches. I don't know if I'm ready to commit to any of these guys in a redraft league and put my chips in it. Unless they're all going super late, and I can get a steal way late that doesn't really cost me anything, then maybe. But carry-on's going pretty high. LeGarrette Blount, the other three guys probably aren't going that high, to be honest with you, in ADP.
That's where you would probably grab Blount, is in a redraft, like super late in a redraft, just as a depth guy. A guy that's going to fill in for an occasional like bye week. He's not going to be someone you're starting in your flex. He's going to be that guy that if you have a couple of injuries, you need Blount for a week or two, and you hope that he gets a touchdown. That's basically what it's going to be, because he's not going to be out there in an opportunity really to get 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. He's just not going to have that opportunity.
I agree. I think I'm trying to find right now on the ADP. LeGarrette Blount and Theo Riddick are both going right next to each other in the 13th round.
I'd rather have Riddick at that point.
Me too.
Especially in a PPR.
Blunt's definitely.
This is PPR, yes.
Blunt's an avoid for me. Like I think his role, I don't think it's going to be
Carved.
very much
Yeah.
or worth fantasy relevance.
Like Amir Abdullah is not being drafted right now, but carry on like we just talked about is going in the back end of the 6th round. So for me, that's hard. That's tough to take a guy has 3 other guys that are right there breathing down his neck for different roles. Like 2 of the guys catch a lot, and the other guy's a goal line back, and this guy's it's very hard to say that Kerryon Johnson as a rookie is going to come in and just manhandle this starting role and just not let it go. So for him to go in the 6th round, he's probably going to be your 3rd running back. So he's like your flex guy, and I just don't know if I'm ready to commit to play Kerryon Johnson and pencil him in my flex every single week. So it's a risk.
I would take him kind of in that area, especially if you're not depending on him as your first or your second, and you should have multiple flex options.
But look who's going after him. Did you like any of these guys more? Tevin Coleman, Marlon Mack, Marshawn Lynch, Isaiah Crowell, Carlos Hyde, Jamal Williams, Chris Thompson. They're all going after him, and I feel a lot more comfortable with some of those names than I would with a rookie running back in Kerryon Johnson. Right at the same spot as him is Cohen. Rex Burkhead is 1 spot ahead of him. So you have Burkhead, Cohen, Tevin Coleman. There's a lot of guys there that I know they're going to get a bigger. Like I'm less risk on those guys.
Really? I would feel safer with Johnson myself. I would take Johnson over all of those guys.
In a redraft, we're talking, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I do think it's gonna shake out, and he's gonna be the guy with the majority of the opportunity.
I hope so. We need this running back in Detroit. We haven't had a running back his size with his athletic ability in forever since.
Jay, would you take a shot on him about the 6th round?
There's a couple of guys on that list that I would take ahead of him.
Who?
Tevin Coleman, for one. I think that even as the 1B to Devontae Freeman's 1A, he's still going to get what he's been getting the last couple of years. So I would take Tevin Coleman. You said Burkhead's going right before him. I think that's going to be a little skewed because I think Burkhead's going to go higher once people start getting deep in their redrafts, especially with the Sony Michel news.
Right.
He's another guy I would take. I kind of have him in that range with Tariq Cohen. I would take Kerryon Johnson ahead of Marshawn Lynch. I would take him ahead of Crowell. And I would take him ahead of Hyde. So yeah, I mean, I have him in that range, maybe a little bit later, but I do like Tevin Coleman more than I like Kerryon Johnson.
He's going as a 31st running back off the board. So it's not like if you put that in perspective, it's not like he's going top 15 or top 25 where it's just outrageous. So the value is okay. I just like a couple of names more that's less riskier. Not that I think they'll outproduce him, but just I feel more confident taking the guy knowing that I'm going to get touches.
Right when you get in that area, that late 7th, early 8th in ADP, it looks like it's right in the middle of committee city. Like every one of those guys is like in a
splitting with at least
2
to 3 guys. Yeah.
And Tevin Coleman's a 2-man committee. So to me, that just gives you more value. Everybody else is in at least a 3-man if you look at that.
I mean, you don't see Kerryon Johnson's. As you look at it now for face value, it looks like it's very crowded. You don't think that shakes out a little bit? Like, I feel like it shakes out. I feel like it's going to be. I feel like Kerryon's probably going to rise. He's not going to go that late, probably, especially if he does anything good in the preseason.
I think Kerryon is the best running back on Detroit's roster. But will they give him the full-blown, like, here you go? I don't think so. Because what's going to happen
What percent do you need him to get to fill,
I mean,
like,
clearly
60%?
I know, but here's the thing, though, is that especially with having Matt Patricia there and him bringing in Blunt, like you said, if Blunt makes the team, how many touchdowns is Blunt going to vulture away from Kerryon Johnson? Let's say Kerryon Johnson looks fantastic, and he's running great between the tackles, right? There's going to be a point where they get down to like the 2, and they're going to bring in Blunt. For sure. And that should have been Kerryon Johnson's touchdown, but now they're going to give it to Blunt. And Blunt's going to have 3 carries with 1 touchdown. So that's what I'm afraid of this first year. Once it's Kerryon Johnson's job, and I know for certain it's Kerryon Johnson's job, I feel a lot better. But how many times is he going to get pulled on 3rd down for Theo Riddick, who's proven year after year that he's very capable of that position? And how many touchdowns is LeGarrette Blount going to vulture?
You have to hope that he almost catches a lot of balls on 1st and 2nd down and makes up the difference for the vulture touchdowns that he's going to give up. Like, if Kerryon can end the season with 30 to 45 catches in that range, and you're in a full-point PPR, and you get that extra 30 or 40 points, it makes a huge difference than if, like you just said, they pull him every time there's a 3rd down or a goal line, and he's losing not only his touchdowns, but he's also losing his 3rd down receptions as well.
So I agree
but Detroit
with you.
throws a ton.
I'm more optimistic than you guys. I feel like in a redraft, you're looking for guys that will help you win. So I feel like Detroit Lions in the red zone, I feel like they throw more. I don't think it's Patricia, I think it's Cooter.
But that's because they haven't had a back that's capable enough, and like Matt Stafford's not known for quarterback sneaking like Cam Newton and those guys, and they haven't had a running back that's big enough to get through that offensive line in between the tackles. They tried to give Amir Abdullah the chance. He fumbled 2 times. Theo Riddick's the same size, and he's not big enough. So now you actually have two guys that are fully capable of getting through that first line of defense when you're on the first, the 1 or the 2 yard line there, and you just need to kind of fall forward. Now you have two options. You have Kerryon Johnson and LeGarrette Blount. So I think they do pass a little bit less. And
out of those,
what receiver is going to catch in the red
those
zone?
two options, there's a lot of them. They like.
But they're all small, is what I'm saying.
It doesn't matter. I think Cooter isn't just going to all of a sudden change and become just a pound it guy. I think out of those two guys, Blunt and Kerryon Johnson, one of those guys is more capable of catching as well. So if you have him in the red zone,
Dual threat there.
you have many more options than if you throw in Blunt. I mean, granted, if it's goal line, if you're literally at the 6-inch line, you're probably going to throw in Blunt and try to just pound it in. But if you're at the 20 and in a little bit, I don't think it's necessarily Blunt. I think
I agree.
The ceiling is pretty high for Kerryon Johnson as far as the value you're getting now. I'm just scared that he might rise a little bit too much.
Yes, I agree with that too.
As far as Jim Bob Cooter goes, I think he's on what the players would call like a make it or break it deal. I think he's got this year's show. What has been going on in the past obviously hasn't worked because they're not really going anywhere. They're like a good team, but they've never been a great team. So it's like they have to obviously change something, and I think that's why he brings in someone like Blunt, because he's like, hey, Jim Bob Cooter, here you go. I'm giving you all the tools. You don't have to just throw on the 5-yard line now. You have options, and I think that's why they brought in Blunt. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Travis, at all. I think Kerryon Johnson should be the starter. I think he's the most talented running back on this roster. But I'm afraid that Blunt will take some of those touchdowns away. I could see Blunt getting a good 5-6 touchdowns this year.
The hype, they haven't even played a preseason game yet. And if you track Kerryon Johnson, I'm going back now to June 7th, so exactly 2 months ago. Kerryon Johnson was going at the 709 in redraft leagues, and as of today, he's going at 609. He's jumped up an entire round. So it's kind of already started. If he comes out week 1 or 2 of the preseason and does good, averages like 5 or 6 yards a carry, maybe gets a touchdown, maybe he catches a couple of balls somewhere in there,
He'll be in the 5th round.
he's gonna make it to the back end of the 5th round, exactly. And now it's gonna be to the point where it's like, usually in ours, we're in a lot of leagues and we don't do our league drafts until the end of August, sometimes the first week of September, right before the season starts. By the time we start doing our drafts and he's in the back end of the 5th round, it's going to be a tough decision to say, man, do I believe in him that much to take him as my second running back, possibly? And I just don't know if I'm there yet on him.
Well, I think that's the trajectory he should be on, because now more people know who he is. More people get a chance to hear some stuff and see some stuff. The later you get, the more you've seen in preseason, I think you'll know better whether or not you want to take a shot on that guy, because from what you've seen. Do you think it's just flash in the pan, kind of like Abdullah was? Because now you won't make that same mistake again.
I think no.
Most likely.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
I think he's better than Abdullah.
That Abdullah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, as far as like all of a sudden he breaks off an 80-yard run and everybody goes
Third round.
over
Third
that.
round.
Right, for sure. No, it definitely would happen, because especially with last year with the Hunts and the guys that came out and went gangbusters.
Rookies are now on everyone's radar.
There's some guys that I want to see their value rise, because I don't really want to take a shot on them, like a Ronald Jones. I would love to see that happen.
He's going ahead of Kerryon as well.
So this is a guy I don't want to necessarily see rise, because I do kind of like that situation, and I like him as a player.
Is there anything anybody wants to talk about with the wide receivers? Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay?
As far as camp stuff goes, no, it's pretty self-explanatory. You have Marvin Jones and you have Golden Tate, obviously the 2 starting receivers. When they run the 3 receiver set, I think Kenny Galladay is the guy. He's coming into his 2nd year. Other players are talking about Kenny Galladay, saying he could, be a wide receiver 1 in the future. Golden Tate said that, as a matter of fact.
So is that just his teammate pumping him up, kind of a thing?
From what I've seen, as far as video goes, we kind of saw the same thing last year. Like when they were going through camp last year, Galladay looks dominant in camp. I don't know if that will translate into the regular season until you start seeing it more often. He did have like a couple of good games last year, but he also battled injuries. I think this is a year that Galladay could step up, and he's someone that's going pretty late in drafts. But after that, after those 3 guys, there's not much there.
No.
Yeah.
So it's like there's not a whole lot to talk about as far as camp battles go. Like those are your 3 main guys. All 3 of those guys get drafted.
Kenny Galladay is not taking over the number 2 spot anytime soon until well into the season.
Yeah.
So that's not a
Jones or
possibility
Tate.
either.
I don't think that's a conversation at all. Is there
No.
any other like reports coming out like about any of those kind of guys?
No.
Other than the typical.
Marvin Jones
stuff.
Marvin Jones left practice early one day, but he came back the very next
injury,
day with a knee. Yes, and he was fine. So, but that's it. Tight ends, you have Luke Wilson and Michael Roberts and Toilolo. Either one of those three guys, I'm not owning in any league ever.
Have you heard anything about any
no.
of those guys coming out?
No.
Nothing at all in camp. Yeah, Roberts is still, in my opinion, kind of a project. Like we always talk about how it takes 3 years for tight ends. He's in his second year now, so he's not someone you're looking at to draft. Maybe in deep dynasty leagues you can kind of take a look at him, or if it's a tight end premium. Lou Wilson's going to be the starting tight end, and he's not going to give you tight end one value as far as
So
I'm
are you
concerned.
taking a shot at any of these
No.
guys, no matter how late the
No.
draft is?
Nope.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either, definitely.
Minnesota.
So, well, hold on. Take it easy. You're so in a hurry, bro.
I was just looking at the time.
As far as dynasty goes,
Yes.
out of everything we've kind of been hearing and seeing from camp, are there any kind of opportunities to maybe go out and kind of buy somebody lower, or do you have somebody that maybe you want to try to sell because it's their values at a decent spot? You think it might just go down more?
You're definitely not going to get Kerryon Johnson or Kenny Galladay low, especially with the hype that's going around them in camp.
I agree with that.
Abdullah
Abdullah is he worth trying to sell? You're probably not going to get anything. Really
You're not
for
going to get
him.
from Abdullah either.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if you're playing in a one quarterback league, Stafford is what he is. So he's not a buy low and he's not really a sell high. It's the same way I feel about Golden Tate.
In a start one, do you even go out looking for quarterbacks?
No.
Not really, no.
Yeah, I don't either.
No, but I think Tate is in the same boat. Like he's not really a sell high or a buy low. The only guy that kind of sticks out to me is Marvin Jones. He had a fantastic season last season. He's done it before, but he's not that sexy name. So if you need wide receiver depth, I think you can have Marvin Jones at a decent price.
I would look at selling Marvin Jones. After him, he's not going to, in my opinion, we've seen his ceiling. He's not going to finish in the top 12 again, in my opinion. Like, there's a lot of guys that are going to be better than him this season. And he had a ridiculously good year, this last season. And I think now's the time to sell on him. He's 28 years old, I think.
But do you think you'll get that value for him? Like, you're not going to get top 12 value. Like, you're not going to get the value of what he produced.
No,
I
what I'm
agree.
saying.
But I just scroll up a
That's-
little bit. I want
that's
to see
why
what he
you
did the
can't-
last couple of years.
that's why you can't really sell him, because you're not going to get what you probably should.
But like if you look at his touchdowns, he had 10 touchdowns in 2013. When Detroit, he had 4, and then last season he had 9. So to me, he's not a boom bust, but like his yardage is just outrageous. He's only getting 61 catches, 55 catches, 51 catches. So if you have to rely on long touchdowns to produce, like for me, I look at that as I'm going to use that as a selling point to say, not necessarily bring up his stats, but just say, look, he finished as a wide receiver number 12 in a PPR league last season. Like, this is a wide receiver 1. Even if he drops off a little bit, okay, so he's a wide receiver 2. You should be able to get some value back from him if you sell him on that.
I mean, you might be able to.
Not to you or Jay, but somebody out there will buy.
You might find that person in your league that you could do that with. I think I'm on the opposite side of that. I think he's a great guy to have some depth, that veteran kind of depth on your squad. A good bye week. The guy, even though he got those low catches, he had little over 900 yards and over 1,100 yards last year. His average yards per reception is like 16 and then 18 last year, so that's not bad. I mean, you could definitely do worse as far as veteran depth. I'd rather have a veteran guy like that than like a rookie necessarily. That I'd be trying to depend on for some depth, especially if I'm a contender.
Yeah, I think he's a buy as well, just for depth. The one thing that kind of stands out to me too is if you look at his games played, he doesn't miss a lot of games. Like in his, let's see, 5-year career, he's missed what? His rookie year, obviously.
5 games.
Yeah, he missed 5 games his rookie year, but since 2013, he's missed 1 game.
Yeah,
That's not bad.
reliable on a high-powered
Or-
offense.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what I would sell you.
He's perennially not disrespected, but he's undervalued.
Yes,
I think,
not a
for
sexy
what
name.
he does. He's not going to be
I agree with that.
bananas, but he's going to be good for you, consistent. All right, so we can move on now. You ready?
Let's move on.
Minnesota Vikings. We're
We went
going
from
up to
James's favorite team to your favorite team.
Minneapolis. Did I get a little too loud there for you, bro?
Just in my ears.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, James' favorite team. It's division rivals, Minnesota Vikings, who won the division last year, partly due to the fact that Aaron Rodgers was hurt, so they didn't have the Green Bay Packers breathing down their necks. So let's go to, first off the top, are there any glaring reports coming out of any player anywhere on this roster
Yeah.
that are making you kind of pay attention to?
Not that it boosts him up for me, but Cousins.
Yeah, good or bad.
Like I've seen a lot of actually good stuff on Cousins. the other guy that he's kind of throwing to a little bit, besides Thielen and Diggs, obviously, is Treadwell. I think that Treadwell has...
There has been some stuff coming out about Treadwell.
Yes, and he's in his third year, and the first 2 years had nothing to do with his talent. It was more off-field issues and immaturity than it was anything else. I don't think it had anything to do with his talent whatsoever. So maybe this is just one of those late bloomers that he finally is going to get it. But they were showing, I saw on Twitter the other day, they were showing some 7-on-7 drills. And Cousins had 7 touchdowns and 7 opportunities, and he was basically spreading it all over. And I think 3 of them were to Treadwell. So these guys are actually looking pretty good together, and that's what you want to see in camp when you have a new quarterback, you have a new offensive coordinator because Shermer's gone. You want to see these guys gelling, and it looks like, as far as camp goes, that they're gelling because they're not playing against some Mickey Mouse defense. Like, Minnesota's got a good defense, and they're pretty deep as far as that goes. So I kind of put a little bit of weight into that.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man, because he's been non-existent, collecting dust on rosters everywhere.
To me, he's
2 years.
To me, though, he's a buy low in Dynasty. I don't know if I'm taking him in redraft. I don't know if he's going to have that much value behind Thielen and Diggs.
Redraft, I stay away completely.
Right, but in a Dynasty, this is somebody that you could probably get really cheap.
You probably could. You definitely could. This is the kind of guy that I do like to go after in Dynasty.
First round pedigree.
And buy low, have him just thrown on. My concerns with Treadwell, granted it's a risk you're probably willing to take at the price, is he's not a great route runner. I think he's more of an athletic kind of guy. As far as on the field goes, he's more of an athletic kind of guy, and he was able to kind of dominate some guys in college a little bit. And I think once he got to the technical game and needing to be able to run good routes and that kind of stuff, I think that's where he struggled a little bit. And I think, who was it before Shermer that wouldn't put him on the field?
Was it Norv Turner?
Yeah, Norv Turner. Like, Norv Turner wasn't having any of that. You know, he was not even giving him a second thought because he couldn't kind of do what he needed to do in that respect. So I still am on a wait and see. I will definitely be watching this guy in the preseason to see if this is true or not, because I'm not putting a whole lot of weight into this coming out. I think it's a first round pick. They're definitely trying to be like, they don't want him to be a bust, I would assume.
And he just turned 23, which means that he still has a lot of years left if he can right that ship and prove that he's not immature anymore.
Yeah,
like, it wasn't.
Flip that canoe back over, bro. It's taking on water.
Because besides that, Thielen and Diggs are what they are. Like, they're both wide receiver 1 or 2 on that fringe. I think they could flip flop this year. I think that last year Thielen was ahead of Diggs. I think they could flip flop.
You're awfully quiet, bro. You got anything to say?
Nothing on Treadwell now.
You're very.
He
you got
hates
anxiety
Treadwell.
I was
about
just waiting 5 minutes for you guys to talk about Laquan Treadwell.
Zero about?
0.
Wow.
Go ahead.
All right. So, as far as the Thielen and the Diggs, is there any value there? To obviously not buying probably, but selling. I would think Thielen's probably a good spot to try to sell.
I think so too. I don't think you're going to get the same kind of season you had last year with Thielen. I think that, like I said just a second ago, I think they flip flop. So now for me is the time to sell Thielen. I think you've already seen his ceiling.
Yeah, I think he's going to do very well again. I think he'll definitely be like, if you do sell him and somebody buys him, I don't think it's like rotten tomatoes that you're selling off. I think
If you're selling him, what do you want? A first round pick?
you might have to get creative because for whatever reason he's undervalued. The last 2 years have been very good, and if it was a 1 year thing, like I didn't buy into it for going into last year. Now it's been 2 years, and the guy gets open. So clearly there's something there. He has a good quarterback there now that can still get him the ball. And if Diggs is, what everybody expects him to be, he's pulling coverage as well. So it's not like they're just going to lock down on Thielen necessarily. So I still think he produces very well for you fantasy-wise. What I would want from him, I think there's a lot that goes into the construction of my roster for that. But I would look to get a first for him, definitely.
You think he's going to be a top 10 this year? We have a wall. We have a wall bet on that.
I do think he's still going to be very in that offense. I don't think it's a.
I think that he's going to lose some targets because Dalvin Cook's back, and Dalvin Cook love to dump the ball off to him, to whoever's in the backfield. Before it was McKinnon, now McKinnon's gone too. So now Cook's going to get all those McKinnon, receptions, and I think that's going to leave a lot less targets for Thielen.
How?
Especially if Laquan Treadwell, like you guys are pumping him up, does anything. That's just another guy. You have Rudolph, you have Diggs, you have Thielen, you have Kendall Wright, you have Laquan
Kendall,
Treadwell, you have
stop.
Dalvin Cook. Kendall, who's going to have a
Treadwell's
better
not-
season, Kendall Wright or Treadwell?
We're not saying Treadwell in redrafts. I'm saying that he's a
I know,
good
he's just a guy
buy
in
low.
target. Yeah, I know.
No, he's a buy low, a stash, and if he does pop off a little bit, then yeah.
We're talking
grab the
about.
sheet.
I'm talking about Adam Thielen's going to get less targets. So I'm throwing out the names that are on the roster that are going to be getting targets. That's all. I didn't say anything bad about Laquan Treadwell. Or good about
I
him.
don't think he's going to pull a lot of targets unless all of a sudden he did right the ship and things happen. Then yeah, I could see that really drastically changing. But as far as Dalvin Cook, you had McKinnon there last year getting his targets, so I don't think those targets are necessarily going to drastically change. And Thielen was still able to do fine with McKinnon getting plenty of targets because that's kind of what he did. So I don't think it changes. I still think I think they upgraded in quarterback myself. I've been saying that to you guys for a while. That I think
I don't know if I believe that.
I don't think it's going to go down a bunch necessarily. I think it'll be relatively.
I think talent-wise, yes. Kirk Cousins, there's no question, is more talented than Case Keenum and the Bradfords and whoever else Minnesota's had the last few seasons. But we're not talking about quarterback talent. We're talking about what I want to see in my quarterback for the other guys that I own on that team, their fantasy production. And like Jay said before on the podcast, we went back and looked, and Kirk Cousins had never had a number one receiver ever in fantasy?
No, he's never had a 1,000-yard receiver in his career.
And so
This
now
is
you
the
have
best team he's been on.
Yes.
Offense-wise, yeah.
Okay.
But it's
That's
also
and defense-wise.
it's also the best defensive team he's had too.
Right.
Which I think that's why I had Cousins so low, is not because he's a bad quarterback. I still
Correct.
think he's a good quarterback, and he's still going to be a quarterback one for you this season. I still think that. But their defense is so good that I think it's going to limit their opportunities. I think that they're not going to have to throw as much. They're not going to be behind in games. So Cousins is never going to have one of those games where he has to throw it 45 times like
Right.
Phillip
Well,
Rivers does.
If he does, it might be once or twice in the entire year.
He had to do that a lot
I
in
disagree. They're in I hear you what you're saying, and when they play lesser talent, yes, but they're in the same division with Detroit, who's a high-powered offense. They're not just going to
Green Bay.
play over and not be able to score. Green Bay, you got Aaron Rodgers. You are probably going to be down in some games. They're not going to mow everybody over in their own division even. So I don't necessarily think that's going to be as. Will it come into play sometimes? Yeah, I do probably think it will be. But on the same token, they throw to the running backs a lot too as well. So they're not just going to completely pound it. They don't have like Zeke. I mean, they got a guy who can kind of get in there, but they got a guy who's going to catch a lot of receptions as well. So I think it's mitigated a little bit.
And word out of camp too, also that Dalvin Cook is ahead of schedule. He tore his ACL really early in the season last year. I think it was was it 3 or 4?
4.
Okay.
If you're not early or late.
So from what I've heard out of camp and everything that's been said is that he looks like he's on track to be ready. He's not going to have to worry about the pup, especially at the start of the season. So he should be ready to roll week 1. If you look at his ADP in drafts, he's going very early second round. So that kind of reflects that everyone agrees that this guy's going to be ready to rock and roll. The guy I'm looking at, especially if you own Cook, if you in a redraft especially, I don't talk a lot about handcuffs. I'm not a huge proponent of handcuffing all your running backs. But if you draft Dalvin Cook, Murray is somebody you have to get as a handcuff.
I agree.
He's a guy that has shown injuries in the past, and Murray has shown what a difference a year changes, because I was not on the Murray train.
You were hating on Murray pretty
Big
bad
time.
last year. Yeah.
But I have changed my tune. I like Murray as a handcuff, and especially if you draft Dalvin Cook, you're going to have to spend a draft pick getting Latavius Murray.
It's Latavius Murray's situation, and you can hate a guy in that situation, but when he gets traded or signs with a different team, you just assume that I've seen what this guy can do before. It's whatever. He's nothing. He's not a good running back. Whatever. But then you put him behind a good offensive line and a really good offense, and all of a sudden now he's averaging 4.5 yards a carry. But he wasn't doing that when he was in Oakland. You know what I mean? He looked horrible when he was in Oakland. Then all of a sudden you give him a Minnesota offensive line with a capable quarterback and 2 good receivers that finish in the top 20 and a top, 7 tight end in Kyle Rudolph. And all of a sudden now Latavius Murray is a name.
In Oakland, he was more just touchdown dependent.
Right.
It wasn't that he was like terrible. It was just like he had to score a touchdown or he didn't get you very many fantasy points. Where I think that here in Minnesota, if Dalvin Cook does go down, whether it's for like a week, 2 weeks, whatever, Murray is definitely capable of coming in and giving you running back 1 / running back 2 numbers.
Look who's after him. Mac Brown, Rock Thomas, Mike Boone.
Rock Thomas is a rookie, so I don't know who the receiving back would be if Dalvin Cook went down. That's something that's going to have to shake out in preseason.
I think it's Rock Thomas.
Yeah. But you got, speaking of what Travis was saying about how tough their division is, look at who else the Vikings have to play. Obviously the Packers twice, Lions twice, like you said, but they also have to play the Eagles in Philly. They have to play the Saints. They have to play the Patriots in New England. They have to play the Rams in LA. So I mean, that's 4 of the top 10 teams, 4 of the top 8 teams pretty much outside their division. They also have to play, and 3 of them are on the road.
It's a tough schedule.
It is.
I'll tell you right now, I'm looking with Minnesota, I'm looking at week 1. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're
San Fran.
Yeah, and they're favored by like 3 or 3.5, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that the hype on San Fran is so out of control that people are going to start betting San Fran as it gets closer to the season. I'm going to hammer the hell out of Minnesota because I think Minnesota's going to come out and they're going to win that game by a lot. I think they're gonna win by double digits in that game.
It's up to 5.5 already. So
So people are betting Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay. See, so if I would have wanted to bet, I would have had to bet it a couple weeks ago, super early.
Right. So
You
that
missed
probably
that
go up
boat,
to
bro.
6.5
Missed
or
that
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll probably come back a little bit.
They're gonna win by double digits that first game. I think that I gotta wait now see if any late money comes in on San Fran.
Hey, after a minute, man, you might take the other side if it keeps on going.
Yeah, it's like 8.5, or right on the
I'll
border.
just stay away from it then. I won't even bet it at all.
Well,
All right, so
that's an option.
clearly there's just pretty much the one tight end. It's Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
I would look for Kyle Rudolph in a redraft this year. I think he's going to be pretty viable. Definitely,
Mhm.
we've seen Kirk Cousins use the tight end in Washington when they're healthy, and even when Reed went down, Vernon Davis got some action. So yeah, I mean,
I definitely have him as a top 10. Yeah, he's definitely someone you want to look at in redraft.
Top 7.
so
potential.
anything you're looking for, like heading into all the preseason games as they start getting rolling. So we're like,
I want to see this new and improved Laquan Treadwell. I want to see him.
I
He's
think
gonna
he
get
will.
playing time. Yeah,
I think you will see him
are you
in
being
preseason.
facetious right now? Because I feel like you're being facetious right now.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so this is one of those things, bro. As a dynasty owner, you gotta keep your mind open.
No, I can't wait to see him.
Don't just write them off, because I've written them off.
I'll
but
probably tune in just to watch
going
Laquan Treadwell.
into this year, like I definitely want to see. I think he's kind of like the Dachshunds and the Mike Williams, where he
Right.
was more like a high point kind of guy, contested catch kind of guy. So I'm not expecting like technical route running necessarily from him, but I want to see, maybe some involvement, maybe, I just want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see in preseason. I want to see Treadwell and I want to see Rock Thomas.
Yeah, I want to see
wanna
his backup running backs. I want to
Yeah.
see if anybody's worth a look-see.
They know what they have in Cook. They know what they have in Murray. After that, though, is where it gets kind of muddled, and that's where I want to see what shakes out.
What if Trevor Siemian, who came from Denver, that couldn't do anything, it looks great. You know what I mean? Like I like seeing guys that are on new teams that didn't succeed somewhere else get put in a different situation, and then all of a sudden now are. I'm not saying he's ever going to be the starting quarterback there, but just guys like him that come in from a different situation and see if they can turn their entire career around. Because sometimes you go irrelevant for 2 seasons, everyone forgets about you. You sign with another team or get traded to another team, and just like Latavius Murray, all of a sudden now you're going to get some significant touches and be able to prove yourself on a completely different team with a new offensive line and a new everything. So I'd like to see those guys. Even though Trevor Siemian has no chance to start, I just want to see what he's going to look like when he goes out there. Is he going to be all of a sudden like a world beater and like look like an actual quarterback? Because he didn't look like that in Denver.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of factors went into him having his struggles in Denver.
Mhm.
But this is definitely a better situation. I don't think Simeon's terrible by any means.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a super flex or a 2-quarterback league, he's a great guy to have stashed. Because if Cousins goes down, he is the guy.
Yeah, because there's no one else after him. Kyle Slaughter.
Yeah,
Is it Slaughter?
I'd rather see Kyle Slaughter play than Trevor Siemian.
I think it's Slaughter. Is it Slaughter? Or would
Slaughter.
be 2 T's?
I'm actually, I like you. I want to see Simeon too as
Right.
well. Because I think he's capable. He's still young. So.
How is his nickname not Sergeant? Sergeant Slaughter?
Simeon? Oh.
No, Sergeant Slaughter from WWE.
Maybe his new name is, and just he hasn't gotten it.
If
yet.
not, you got it. But Sergeant Slaughter. If he comes out and just lights a world on fire like Sergeant Slaughter, and then Trevor Siemian, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Northwestern 7th round steal. Anything
Yes.
else you guys want to add for Minnesota or Detroit?
Now you guys ready to crack it?
Keep
Go
your
Vikings.
keep your eyes open. No, go Lions.
Let's crack it.